What's up, everybody? Old Guy Gamer here playing American Truck Sim. I got rid of the Christmas paint job, and now I'm thinking maybe I should go back and paint the truck. Ugh, doesn't match. You know what? I can solve this problem of the paint job's not matching. Oh, see? Now you can hardly tell. We're doing a Valentine mission today, so if you don't know what that is, go check out your World of Trucks or your Steam edition of American Truck Sim, and it will tell you all about it. We're pulling this trailer from Arkansas to Arkansas. I don't know, let's see where it's going. We're going to Harrison from, I think it was Fort Smith. Whatever, let's just drive. How are you all doing today? I am doing great. I took a little bit of a break after Christmas. I put my Christmas video up with my music playlist from Spotify attached. A few of you look like you watched it, played along. Let me know how you like that Christmas video playlist thing. I've done like 3 or 4, and I see that people are watching it. I just don't get any feedback about how people are watching it. I don't know, are people actually using the playlist to play along with the video, or are people just playing the video by itself? I don't know. I just want to know if the Spotify playlist being attached in the description of a video actually works to get people to follow along with the playlist in the video. I don't know if it's just me wasting my time or if people are actually watching it. So do me a favor, go back to that video, leave a comment saying that you do listen, you do watch the video and listen to the music at the same time, synced up together to make sure it makes sense. I actually have a lot of fun putting those playlists together. The videos are actually pretty simple. I did the first 2 where I just recorded in real time. This last one that I did, I recorded a lot longer and I edited it down so that the video only shows the most interesting parts of the trip that I was taking. So, let me know what you think of those videos, because I'm not really getting any feedback, and I'd like to get some feedback to see if I should continue doing those, because the playlists so far have had very few repeats regarding artists. I think I did a Kelly Clarkson song twice out of the 3 total playlists, and I'm running out of artists. I know there's more artists to put in, but I'm going to have to start repeating artists if you want more Christmas playlists like that. And today's video will be shorter. I was going to work from the dad book, but I forgot to read one of the prompts, so I don't know what to talk about. Did I have a nickname? Who were your best friends in your elementary school days? Alright, so one of the prompts is, I just hit pause real quick. One of the prompts is, did you have a nickname when you were growing up? My name is Thomas, so everyone called me Tommy. That was really the only nickname I had. I lived next to another guy named Tom. We moved when I was like in 5th grade in the same neighborhood. We went from renting to owning. So when we bought a house, we lived next to another kid named Tom. So I was a year older. I was Tom 1, he was Tom 2. But that was just when we were both together, so people could differentiate us. The next prompt is, who were your best friends in elementary school? Are you still in contact with them? I guess my best friend in elementary school was Rick. We were the ones that would like do sleepovers and ride bikes at all hours of the day or night. He was really big into, like, his dad was big into VHS tapes. Like, they would always go to the video rental store on Tuesdays when the movies were released and get movies the day they were released. And then they would take them home, and his dad had a whole setup where they would record every VHS tape so they could have a copy of their own. And then there was a binder of like all of the VHS tapes of all of the movies they had recorded. They had a whole room in their basement with just video, like VHS tapes. So there were always movies around when we were kids, when I was over at his house. It's probably why I love movies so much, because his dad had the collection of pretty much every movie of importance from the 80s or 70s or whatever it was. I do remember I was in, I want to say 6th grade, in the same class as Rick. I started going to that school when I was in 3rd grade, so we might have been in the same class in 3rd grade, and I just don't remember. That's how we got to know each other, because we lived a few blocks away from each other. But I don't really remember meeting Rick for the first time. I just remember we were friends for a long time. And we are still in contact with each other. We're friends on Facebook. I talk to him. He's a contractor, so he calls me if he needs a... He called me once because he needed a truck moved when I was a truck driver. I wasn't really a truck driver. I drove a straight truck. So I had a Class B license, and he needed a big truck moved, and he didn't... They couldn't figure out how to get the transmission to work because it wasn't like a sports car. So they called me up, and they're like, hey, can you move this truck for us? And I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem. I'll be right over. And he called me back like 5 minutes later. He's like, never mind, we figured it out. I don't even know what kind of truck or what the circumstances were, but he called me for that. I call him if I have a contractor question or a, house fix it up kind of question. Plus, we're friends on Facebook, so we check in and say hello on birthdays, and if he puts up some vacation photos, I'll say, man, I wish I could go there and all that kind of stuff. But we're not like everyday talking, but it's not like we're afraid of reaching out and saying something just out of the blue. We're not best friends, but we're not lost friends either, I guess we're saying. We're kind of in different stages of our lives. He still has younger kids, not youngish, not too young, like school-age kids. And all my kids are out of the house, adults. So we're kind of in different parts of our lives. So while he's, living his life, doing the things you got to do as a parent of young girls. Well, he has like 2 kids. One's like high school and one's like elementary school. So he's just in a different part of his life. So he's living his life, and I'm over here doing my thing. We're the same age, basically. And then another friend of mine, he's a really good friend. I met him from Cub Scouts, and then his parents started going to our church. So we were friends at church and at Cub Scouts. Was Sean, good buddy. I did sleepovers. Sleepovers were a big thing for me and my friends because that's just what we did. We did sleepovers. I remember sleeping over at his house. He would sleep over at my house. I mean, just practical joking and nonsensical tomfoolery we were up to all the time. Rick and I think one of the biggest memories I have, I don't even know if I should say biggest memory because it makes it a bigger deal than it is, but one of the funnier things we did, me and Rick, was I was sleeping over at his house, and he had a VHS like recorder, like a camcorder. So we did like a Strange Brew style clip art SNL type. We were just making funny videos, and we put it all on one tape. And that tape has since disappeared as far as I know. I don't know if he still has it, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid. But we would pretend to be newspaper reporters, and we sang along to a Christmas song and made up words just to be stupid and all that kind of stuff. When I was over at Sean's house, we did a lot of video games. Probably how I got into video games. I remember the paper route being a big thing for me when I was a kid. I had like 2 different paper routes, one for the daily and one for the weekly. I don't remember them ever having paper routes. But the money from the paper route is how I got into my RC car hobby and video game hobby. Because every once in a while I'd get enough money saved up where I could go buy something big. I don't remember Rick or Sean having paper routes. But we were both different. Like, it was just 2 different styles of friendship. Like Rick, his parents were divorced, so his parents were separately always working. So he had a lot of free time on his own. So when I went to his house, it was more like goofing off. Just, we would ride our bicycles to Aldi and buy some sodas and frozen cream pies and watch movies all night. And if I was at Sean's house, it would be video games and still riding around the neighborhood. We knew this old folks home where there were some blackberry trees out in the yard, and we'd go to the old folks home and literally just climb the trees and eat blackberries and tell stories and just laugh and goof off and throw sticks at each other or whatever. I don't even know. And then there was the Cub Scout thing too, where we had a lot of Cub Scout activities together with the meetings and the Pinewood Derbies and the camping and all that stuff. I don't know. Those were my friends. Those are the 2 I remember, the 2 biggest friends I had in elementary school. Once we get into high school, I was put into like the honors program, so I had a difference. I wasn't in any classes with Sean or Rick. I just had a different friends group because once you get put into the honors program in high school, you're kind of in the same classes all day with the same kids that are in the same classes as you. So I still had those friendships. Like Sean's family still went to church with us. It just wasn't spending every day with them. I remember being friends with Rick. In high school, Rick, I think we did lunch together a lot of times. We always did breakfast together. We would go to school a little bit early and sit in the cafeteria and get a donut and a chocolate milk and eat breakfast together. So we always made the connection in high school, me and Rick. Even though we didn't have classes together, like I knew where his locker was, he knew where my locker was, and we were always just like, I don't know, connecting during the passing period, just goofing off, whatever. Because he had a work van, a Ford cargo van that he used for work, because him and his dad did landscaping, lawn care stuff. And I had a Ford van, a window passenger van that my family used, and that was what I drove to high school. So we always parked our two Ford vans next to each other. So the parking lot, we would see each other before school, walk in, have breakfast, go to our classes and whatever. And then at the end of the day, we would end up leaving school at the same time because we both had our Ford vans parked next to each other in the parking lot. And then, of course, before we got our licenses, we probably rode the bus together to middle school. We both walked to school in high school. So we all walked to high school for the first couple of years until we had our driver's licenses. I had this other friend, Bob. He would walk to my house and pick me up, and then me and Bob would walk together and pick Rick up to walk to school, to high school, like freshman and beginning of sophomore years. And then we got our licenses, and me and Rick would drive and park next to each other. Bob, I remember having classes with, but I don't think he was as close a friend as the other two were. I was just thinking about Bob pulled a gun on me once. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I told that story or not. We were both like juniors or seniors in high school, and I saw him. I was driving and he was driving, so I decided to follow him and mess with him and like flash my lights at him and like just being stupid teenage kids with driver's license. I wasn't doing anything too stupid, but it was enough to get his attention. Because I followed him home, and when I got to his house, he jumped out of his car and he had a gun, and I was like, what the fudge? Only I didn't say fudge. I was like, why do you have a gun? He's like, I thought you were ready to jump me. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. You freaking idiot. Me and Bob didn't hang out much after that. Good times. People say I tell people all the time that since I'm a cop, I tell people all the time that I grew up in Round Lake Beach, trying to make it seem like I had a rougher childhood than I actually did. But then there's those times where I tell a story, I'm like, oh yeah, I really did grow up in a crappy neighborhood. Like, I was a cop probably 10 years ago, and the town I grew up in, Round Lake Beach, they ended up fulfilling an arrest warrant for a murder that happened in like the 80s. And when the murder happened, it happened like a couple of doors down from where I lived when we bought that house when we moved in the 5th grade. I guess there was a big biker party and some guy stabbed another guy and then fled to Tennessee and like lived like 20 years before he was caught. And then when I was a cop, I heard that they had fulfilled that arrest warrant and arrested him, found him and arrested him and brought him back for trial. I was like, that was like 3 or 4 houses down from where I lived. And then I remember stories like Bob pulling the gun on me and just a bunch of crazy stuff. Like, how did I not die growing up in that town when, growing up there when and where I did? Oh, whatever. Everybody survived, so it's not surprising, I guess. It's just sometimes the stories are bigger and more grandiose than I remember. Do this a little more smoothly. Should we really be slowing down to 15 miles an hour to do this? Come on. Grade school friends. I'm sure there's tons more stories to tell about my friends from elementary school, but they kind of blend into stories about middle school and then stories from high school. It is what it is. It's the same as everybody else's stories. Let's see, we are only 16 miles from our destination. I think I'm going to keep this video short today. I was kind of not really feeling like getting up and recording anything today. It's my second day off of 3. I'm recording this the day after the Super Bowl. The kids came over for Super Bowl last night. My son-in-law, Matt, we missed having him here. He's a cop up in Wisconsin. He got held over on a late call that was a pretty big call and wasn't able to make it to the Super Bowl party, but everyone else was here. Savannah's like, hey, how come you haven't done any videos in a while? I'm like, because it's January and it's like minus 20 degrees outside. But no, that's just an excuse. I like taking breaks every once in a while and not doing it for a month. And then I'll get back in and do 4 or 5 videos, and then I'll take a month off. That's the life of a retired guy. I'm actually retiring this year. I haven't told anybody at my work yet. We have a pension board that reviews our pension questions and quandaries and all that stuff. And so I went to the guy that's our pension board rep, and I'm like, hey, how does it work? What do I do? And he's like the only one that knows the day that I'm retiring, but no one else even knows. Every time someone at my work's like, hey, how many more years you working? I'm like, I got a couple more years in me. I got a couple more years. My knees are starting to hurt. They're not injured or nothing. I just tell people, like, I just go to work and I'm like very cognizant of trying to make it look like I'm not getting old. Like, I try not to limp and try not to, you know, grunt when I stand up from a chair. You know, the things that old people do. I try not to do any of that stuff, because when you're an old person in a young person's game, you try not to show your age. So I'm keeping my retirement quiet. I have my date picked out. I'm counting down my days. And there's only a couple of people that know. Maybe everyone knows it. I'm just not smart enough to figure it out. But I think I've been pretty good about keeping it quiet. And I'm hoping to surprise everybody and just leave without too much commotion. But that's happening this year. It'll be interesting to see how many videos I post when I'm retired, because now I'm kind of recording and posting videos on my days off. But when I retire, I wonder what it'll be like, because my schedule is definitely going to change. I'm still going to work, but I'm going to do a job that I want to do, not a job that I feel like I have to do. So my life will be going through a big change in my schedule this year sometime, and the recording and posting schedule might change to reflect that. So I don't know how it's going to work yet, but we'll see. I do love playing video games. I found myself playing video games more now than recording. I started a game of Red Dead Redemption up where I had a save, you know, to get past chapter 1 where it's all the tutorial stuff, but I started chapter 2 where you're in Horseshoe Overlook by Valentine. And I just started playing the game, and I'm not doing any of the missions. I'm just doing all the side stuff. So I did do a couple of missions, but I haven't, like, rescued Micah from the jail yet. I got trapped into doing the tuberculosis mission. Should have used my turn signal there. If you put off the tuberculosis mission for too long, I read there's a trigger where if you read the letter from Mary Linton in your camp, it automatically triggers the tuberculosis. And I didn't know that, so I picked up the letter from Mary and read it, and then Strauss or whatever his name came over, and he's like, you need to go there now, and it says go to Thomas Downs' ranch. And I'm like, oh dang it, I got tricked into like having to do it. But after I did that mission, I haven't done any other missions because I don't want to go farther in the story. I just want to enjoy being a cowboy in the Old West and not have to do anything too serious. So I've just been playing that game and not recording it just to play. And it's like I sit down and I basically just waste an hour every night playing that game. I'll find myself like in Valentine playing poker, or I'll be in camp just doing the chores, and then I'll sit by the fire and listen to people talk, and then go to bed, and then wake up and do chores, and just the same thing over and over and over for like 6 days in a row. And then I'll go ride and do some hunting, and it's just a time waster. I just love that game so much. Okay, yeah, I think we could do that. So I haven't even played this game since Christmas. I did try and do the Christmas event, A World of Trucks. I sat down in one day and I'm like, I wasn't going to do it. I'm like, I'm just going to do it and get it over with, do it all in one day, and it'll be done, you know? So I sat down, and it was supposed to be done by 12 o'clock UTC, and I don't know what UTC means, but I was like, okay, I got till midnight. So I sat down one day and I did them all, and I finished my last mission, my last event trip at like 6:15. And it turns out UTC is like 6 hours away from Central Time Zone, so I ended up being over the limit by 15 minutes on my last mission to finish the event. So I didn't get the Christmas event completed in time. I was too late getting the last mission done. And what sucked is when I did the last mission, I was like called down for dinner. if I hadn't gone to dinner, like paused the game to go eat, I would have finished in time. So I missed the winter event with World of Trucks by 15 minutes. Oh boy. This is a tough one. Yikes. I think I would get out and move that box. Oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. I'm glad the other spots are empty. See, I'm looking at the lines on the pavement, and I'm like kind of in the middle, but I look at the yellow lines on the dock, and I'm like way too far to the right. Whatever, it's a game. I'm ready to get this mission over with. I'll see you guys next time. You guys go watch more videos. I'll go play some more games. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Super Bowl Recovery Day. Bye.